Hi, I'm Mike Smith. I'm one of the attorneys here at Smith Barid, and this is a frequently asked questions video. So one of the questions that our clients frequently ask us is, what's the difference between a living trust and a will? So let's take the will first. That's the easier one to talk about. A will is simply a set of instructions that you leave for someone you've named, your executor, to execute after you passed away. And the executor's job is to do three things. Number one, to marshal your assets. And that just means to gather the assets together. Number two, to pay any debts that remain. So if there were any debts that you owed at the time that you passed away, the executor will pay off those debts. And then number three, to distribute your assets as you've designated in your will to the people that you've chosen. So that, in a nutshell, is what a will is. Now, a trust, and specifically here I mean a living trust, is simply a will substitute. So what that means is that it does everything that a will does, plus it does a few other things. And the way that I like to think of a living trust is it's simply a bucket that holds your assets. So it's a bucket that you put your assets into, and then as long as you are alive and competent, you're in control of the assets in that bucket. So you're carrying the bucket and dealing with the assets in that bucket. And you can do whatever you want to with the assets. You can sell them, you can loan them, you can put new assets into the bucket, you can take them out, anything you want to do with those assets. At the point that you become incompetent or you pass away, the person that you've chosen will take over and manage those assets in that bucket without having to go through any court process. With a will, we have to go through a process called probate. With a trust, there's no court proceeding. And they will take those assets and distribute them in the way that you've set out in the trust. Or if you're incompetent, they will manage them on your behalf until such time as you regain your capacity. So the way I like to think of it is just as a bucket that holds the assets. There's really nothing fancier than that. But it allows us to avoid probate when you pass away, to avoid probate if you become incapacitated, so we don't have to go through a guardianship proceeding to have someone appointed to deal with your assets. And it's also helpful if you own property in multiple states, because we don't have to go through probate in multiple states, or if you plan on moving to another state, because a will is a creature of state law, which means that if you move to a new state, you need to have a new will executed. A trust is simply a legal contract between the trustors, the people who create the trust, the trustees, and the beneficiaries. And in the case of most living trusts, you serve in all three of those capacities. But because it's a legal contract, it's applicable anywhere in the country. There may be some changes you'd want to make if you move to a new state because of differences in the law, but the basic contract remains. So those are the differences between a will and a living trust.